Future Tara here. I'm gonna put a timestamp in this video right here if you want to skip all of the talk about menstrual cycles and being a little bit in a bad mood and stuff, because I actually do have a philosophical topic in this video that I want to talk about while I'm just chilling out, trying to get in a good mood and feel better. So yeah, this timestamp right here if you want to skip all of this random introspection period talk, whatever. I have like an X on my new little screen that keeps me in the middle of everything. I'm having one of those days where I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like filming. I'm super demotivated, whether it's in the gym or to create content or to edit. Things that don't usually get to me are extremely annoying. Like, for instance, the heat. It's really hot here right now, as it is everywhere relatively. But here it's like over 100 every day now. And for some reason, like, usually it's just like, oh, it's nothing. It doesn't even make me sweat. But I've been sweating more lately, and then I've also been really frustrated at the heat lately. Also, Jay's car is having an issue with the air conditioning, and we have to take it in on Friday. And while I'm sitting in the car, I'm like really frustrated that it's hot or that I can't breathe well, and it makes me dizzy a little bit. I also feel often like I'm just on the verge of tears for no reason. And before this gets too heavy, I do want to let you know, to preface this, that this is like a hormonal thing. I know that there's actually nothing wrong with me, and I'm also not complaining. I'm just like making a video today because I want to be able to make videos like this for you guys that make you feel like maybe you're not as alone when you're having these days, especially women with their menstrual cycles. I am currently on my period, and something I'm sure I've mentioned to you guys before is that the last year or 2 years, I've actually had like menstrual things happen like while I'm menstruating. It's weird because previously, like 5 or 6 years ago, I remember being annoyed while I was having a conversation with someone that got heated, and they were like, oh, are you on your period or something? Basically presuming that something was getting to me more, or that I was being more of a bitch because I was on my menstrual cycle. And that kind of comment in a non-feminist way always irritated me because I couldn't even fathom being a totally different person while I'm on my period. And I think there's a correlation between me not having been on birth control for the last 1.5 to 2 years and me actually finally getting signs and symptoms during my period, like cramps and weird hormonal attitude mood swing type things, which is really alarming because I've always seen the kinds of people who allow like a mindset or something like that to get them down or stress them out or whatever. I always saw that as a weakness, and it's weird coming to terms with the fact that I am weak as well. I'm not saying that I'm changing my mind just because, oh, now I do that thing that I saw as weak. It's not a weakness. I still think it's a weakness. It's news that I'm susceptible to these kinds of things as well. There's always been the possibility of me having like a bad day, but the hormonal ones, the ones around my period, have been so much more intense. Like, I'm not a crier. I'm not a histrionic person. I'm not someone who reacts very strongly emotionally, but when I'm on my period, some days, oh, I definitely am. Like, a song or some kind of sad story could definitely get me, or get me at least close. And that's pretty crazy to me, how much your hormones play into this. And fun fact, like, randomly I'll also feel sick. And I don't know if you remember the few years back when I realized that my birth control was the culprit to why I was having these intense headache, neck ache, random bouts of nausea experiences. Well, when I found that out, I stopped taking any form of hormonal birth control, and I haven't since. But since then, when I'm on my period, those are the only times usually that I'm susceptible to that kind of feeling again. So I'm like even more concretely sure that those sicknesses that I had in the past, like the general malaise and nausea and all that stuff, is definitely related to my hormones and the birth control, more so even than I thought, because clearly I'm getting the exact same sicknesses while I'm having hormones coursing through my body that are related to my menstrual cycle. And then also the fact that now my real menstrual symptoms have actually kicked in. It's crazy because I've seen so many girls talk about their menstrual cycles or being on their period as if it's like actually debilitating. Like, they actually have to lay in bed, they actually have to get like a heat pack on their stomach, they can't go to work, sometimes they take days off for really bad menstrual cycle symptoms. And I've always been like, what? Fucking period is a breeze. Granted, I started my period when I was 9. I don't really remember being 9, but I started getting on birth control I think when I was 14. So for most of my menstrual cycle experience, I have been on hormonal birth control off and on. So I haven't really even experienced what it's like to have a period. And I think one of the things that birth control is supposed to do is negate a lot of the cramps, bloating, fatigue, and pain that is associated with a period. So I feel like I've transitioned into being an actual woman all of a sudden, and now I'm actually experiencing these things, which is odd because I know many people who have been on birth control do experience these things. But it's weird to self-diagnose, deciding between whether I actually have something wrong in my life or I'm just going through some hormonal thing, or like it's a phase, or I woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something. And one of the ways that I can tell that it's just a passing thing, other than the fact that I don't have anything really wrong in my life, through introspection you can think about it and be like, oh, you know, there's some minor inconveniences, there's the standard stresses of being me and stuff and living an adult life. But when I'm on the verge of tears for absolutely nothing, or when the response to any kind of stressor is not proportionate to the stress itself, that's when I can tell that, yeah, this is hormonal. And it's weird how you have to rationalize how you're feeling in a time when you're being affected by something so not rational. Okay, so I actually have a topic today. And the topic I want to talk about is what I'm going to affectionately call the I am evil or my hero paradox. So I've always found this to be a little weird and not really make much sense to me. It's kind of like an oxymoron. Someone saying that I am evil, don't pity me. In a lot of movies and TV shows, you'll have like a villain type character saying that I am evil, don't pity me, and basically self-pitying about how they're evil and don't deserve pity. Now, the statement in itself feels so oxymoronical, if that's a thing, because if you're truly evil, you would revel in the fact that people taking pity in you and thinking that you're a better person than you are. So by virtue of even saying, I am an evil person, do not pity me, or feeling bad that people are pitying you, that makes you not evil. So the statement is kind of moot at that point. God, this is so hard to film. I just keep like reiterating sentences over and over again because I keep doing it wrong because I'm not in the right headspace to film. But anyway, let's move on. The reason that I'm filming this topic today is because it's not like a heavy, super deep, super important or topical topic. It's just something that I've always thought was a little bit silly. I think when someone writes a character into a story or a movie that's supposed to be evil, they have to still humanize him to an extent because you want your watchers, your viewers to actually like the villain character or to feel like that villain character is still a human and therefore is worthy of some sort of understanding or pity, or you can see yourselves in them a little bit. Otherwise, you wrote a completely unrelatable character to most people, and therefore it's actually a little bit too heavy of a show because it's too realistic of an evil, to the point where you're like, does this person actually have a mental disorder? And then you can kind of relate to them again, but I digress. The reason that this popped into my head today is because I was feeling kind of out of it at the gym and not motivated. I was listening to some Lamb of God and Amon Amarth. Those are my two go-to artists when I want to like pick myself up, pump myself up, let's go, fast tempo, let's fucking get into it, let's run, let's lift and stuff. And I was listening to my favorite Amon Amarth song, or what used to be my favorite Amon Amarth song when I started listening to Amon Amarth. I don't know if it's still my favorite. When I say something is my favorite, I don't necessarily mean that it's like the best one, even to me, subjectively, but that it holds some kind of personal significance to me because it was like my first that did something, or it was something I was really into in a point in my life that I reminisce about often. That's my hero, Amon Amarth. And also Super Mario Bros. 3 on the All-Stars cartridge. Obviously, that's not the best game I've ever played, but it's my favorite because it has a nostalgical significance to me. So anyway, I'm gonna actually get my phone so I can read you the lyrics of this song so we can kind of unpack what I'm trying to say in a way that's actually shown in pop culture. One second. Okay, so if you don't know, Amon Amarth is like Viking metal, basically, so they actually kind of like nerdily roleplay being a Viking all the time. And this song is basically about being a mercenary, and you did things your entire life only for hire, and then you're laying there on the ground dying. You, the Viking mercenary dude in the story, the protagonist of the story, is laying there on the ground dying, and he's like, shed no tears for me, I know who I am an evil man. He's basically saying like, I feel bad that everyone around me is crying because I'm dying, because I spent my entire life being this mercenary who had no morals and was basically an evil man. And I find there to be contradictory evidence in there just by the virtue that he is sitting there saying like, oh, don't cry for me, I'm not a good person. When people commiserate with others about not being a good person and feeling bad about it or saying that they don't deserve something because of it, that shows an inherent moral compass that they're claiming not to have, and therefore it's a very contradictory statement in my opinion. Please post us in the comments if you think there are any kind of obvious flaws in my argument, or if you think it's more multifaceted than that someone can be quote-unquote evil. And we're talking about evil in the sense of the word, like the person actually does conduct himself with no morals and only looks out for himself in the most selfish and the most detrimental to other people of senses. I'm not talking about like actual, like some kind of God-fearing good and evil where like heaven and hell type of thing, because I don't believe that exists. I believe that there is the propensity for every human being to act in a neither good or evil way based on their environment, their mental chemistry, their situation, etc. And I don't really even want to talk about quantifying evil or like how evil it is to be a mercenary your entire life or only look out for yourself. I'm just saying, on the premise that someone lived their lives only caring about themselves and they don't have the capacity to care about others, or they've never spent their lives caring about others, that's the evil we're talking about today. Let me look up the lyrics real quick. Did I say my hero? It's the hero. I don't know why. If I said my hero. Okay. The blade I swing is black as night, black as my soulless heart. See, he's just like more and more writing himself as this kind of person. You can't write about yourself in this way where you are feeling remorse for being this kind of way if you actually are this kind of way. It bears the burden of many lives, but I don't feel remorse. He says he doesn't feel remorse. See, like, if I can imagine this, because I would probably be this kind of way given this kind of circumstance where I'm in a Viking world. I would definitely be a mercenary. I would definitely kill people. And there are circumstances today where I could kill a person and not feel remorse. Like, for instance, if someone comes and tries to harm my family, I do not feel like I would feel remorse there, but I wouldn't be like, please don't say you love me or support me because I am an evil girl. You know, I would be like, yeah, it is what it is. You know, like, you have to dislike yourself and your actions to a certain extent to feel bad about this, but then you didn't feel bad about it your entire life. Is this some kind of like awakening on his deathbed? It doesn't feel like through the lyrics he's conveying, or they're conveying, that it's some kind of like shift. Like, oh, now I've realized that I'm gonna die alone or something. I don't know. Maybe that's always what it is. But I see a lot in movies and TV shows that are ongoing where a person displays the knowledge that they're evil in a remorseful way, and then they continue to do these evil things, and it's not like a mental illness, so it's weird. Hopefully any of this makes sense. See, this is why I'm tackling a not too important topic while I'm feeling this way, because I'm all over the place. I lent my sword to anyone willing to pay the price, no regrets for what I've done, a mercenary's life, but there I was on the battlegrounds, until I felt the jaws of death cutting to my flesh, defending old and weak, but I do not retreat. Oh, okay, so yeah, he was a hero once. Okay, yeah, just in the, okay, so this is new knowledge to me. I don't remember this verse. I just remember him dying in a battle, even though I just listened to the song today. I remember him just dying in a mercenary battle or something. Okay, so changing the premise to him dying a hero after a life of sin. Like, why is he saying, don't cry for me? You did something, you saved lives, why can't someone cry for you? Also, you're not an evil man. Just like, demonstrably, you're not an evil man, at least in, you know, my concept, because I don't think people and their past actions, contrary to what a lot of people think these days, I don't think people's past actions dictate the rest of their future actions, nor does it make them a one-dimensional evil fucking caricature of Satan or something. Okay, so now here I lie in my own blood and strangers cry for me. I'm prepared to meet the gods. I wish they'd let me be. I don't deserve their sympathy. I know who I am. My soul is death and misery. I am an evil man. I rest in my blood. Soon I will face the gods. Strangers cry for me. I wish they'd let me be. Show no sympathy. Shed no tears for me. I know who I am. I am an evil man. And then he says, I know who I am, and I am an evil man, like 6 more times. So he doesn't know who he is or something. Or he's saying that like this one nice deed that he ended up dying for. I mean, laying down your life is a little bit different than just taking up arms once for innocence after killing like 1 billion fucking innocents. I don't know why we're arguing morality here. I don't want this to, in my opinion, it would be a devolving into talking about morality and what's good and what's evil. I just always found it kind of silly every time media that we consume for entertainment. What just happened? Did my thing die? Anyway, I just feel like it's such poor storytelling to humanize a character in such a shallow way that really doesn't make any sense. You know, like, it's almost like if they turned it into like a tactic where like the guy was saying that, but it's obvious that he's evil and he's just saying that because he knows that for some reason it works on the average person to be like, oh no, woe is me, I'm evil, please don't fucking care about me, I don't deserve your love or your attention or your remorse or sympathy because I'm so evil. You know, if that kind of self-deprecating like speech works on another person to make them feel sorry for you, and then like later they're like, haha, but it's never like that. It's always like the person actually does feel constantly like they're a bad person and what they're doing is bad, and by virtue of just that alone, I would say that it makes you a very non-evil person, because to not have that kind of conscience is what makes you the kind of scary caricature of an evil person that a lot of people actually fear. Because once you have no concept of right and wrong, or no kind of like will to stay within the societal contract of don't kill so I don't get killed type of thing, or if it actually makes you feel good to do harm to other people because of a chemical imbalance or because whatever, that's when you become a scary person. But you take all of that away from the character when the character shows remorse for their actions in that way, and therefore makes them like a redeemable, likable character, but it's also a writing flaw in my opinion. I can't think of any time that this happened in a movie or TV show recently. I'm feeling like the Jessica Jones guy maybe, but I don't remember much about that. It's just for some reason as I'm talking his face is popping into my head. The guy that like used to, it's been a long time since I've watched the first season of Jessica Jones, but like that British character, lanky, tall British character that like Jessica Jones used to fuck, I think, or whatever, and he's like evil but not evil, but evil but not evil. A lot of characters flip-flop like this. It's like, why did you do such heinous things, or like on the brink of heinous beyond return type things, and then you're all like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like all of a sudden save humanity. In my last few moments, I want to change things around, and oh, now you can't feel remorse for me. It just seems a little weird. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I'm gonna end it here. Let me know if you got anything out of this, whether you also feel some days like you're out of it and your mental capacity is just jumping around, going from like, oh, I want to ramble and I'll be really concisely rambling, to like, oh, I'm losing my train of thought every 5 seconds. Or if you just sometimes feel sad with no reason to feel sad. Girls, if you're watching, if my 20% girl audience is watching, do you have really bad like cramps and mood swings and stuff on your period, or is that something you don't experience? And if you don't experience it, are you on birth control? And if you do experience it, are you on birth control? Let me know what you guys think about this kind of content. I'm not making it as filler. I'm actually pretty ahead. I just feel like this kind of thing, in a way, it sets me apart from other channels. It might be less clickbaity, it might be less interesting, it might be less sexy or whatever, but it's interesting to me to get the responses, so therefore it's interesting for me to make. And I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoy making it and reading your comments. And I hope you post comments. I'll see you in the next video. I'm gonna go stream, play some bass, just chill out, and hopefully be in a better mood, because I am in a much better mood than I was when I woke up this morning. I was like not feeling it. I didn't think I'd be able to even put on the makeup or sit here or do this. But as I've said before, makeup's kind of a self-care thing for me, so I feel better while I'm like listening to music and putting, you know, paint on my face. War paint. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support and for watching. Links in the description as always, and I will talk to you soon.